Hello Blue Sky Travelers! We just got back from a repositioning cruise on Norwegian. It was 21 days from Miami through to Seattle. We've cruised on a couple of Norwegian ships on the past, and we realized that not every ship is right for everybody. So we're going to talk today about whether Norwegian is the right ship for you.
This video breaks down who Norwegian is really for. We're going to be focusing on solo travelers, families, relaxed cruisers, and spa lovers.
We'll talk a little bit about the vibe of their ships. We'll talk a little bit about the More at Sea package, family features, solo cabins, spa offerings, and what kind of traveler thrives on board a Norwegian cruise. So let's start off talking a little bit about what sets Norwegian apart. The big one for a lot of people is their freestyle dining. Now, on a lot of cruises, when you book your cruise, you're kind of pigeonholed into either a early dining or a late dining time. And once you have that, it's supposed to be yours for the entire cruise. They'll give you a set table, whether that's a single table for you and your partner, or whether you get joined in with another group of 4 to 6 other people. That will be your dining time and your table for the duration of the cruise. Norwegian has gotten rid of that. What they've done is you can choose to go to any of their non-specialty dining restaurants anytime you want with no reservations. You can choose to have a table by yourself, or you can choose the option of joining others.
Something that a lot of people who are now avid Norwegian fans really like about the direction Norwegian has taken is there is no formal nights. There are no galas. So that means, ladies, you do not need to get all fussed up and bring an extra pair of heels and have a fancy dress. And for the gentlemen, you do not need to have a suit and tie. You do not need to have a coat even to go to the dining room. So for a lot of people that want that really casual feel, Norwegian has totally done away with all of the formality, and so this might be a fit for you.
Now, we're not talking just semi-casual, semi-business attire. The dining rooms are very casual. On our most recent cruise, we saw people with ball caps, tank tops, flip-flops, just regular shorts. Whatever you're wearing, they're more than happy to take you into their dining room and you sit and enjoy your meal.
This is a big draw for Norwegian cruisers, especially if they've been on other lines and they are looking for a more casual vibe. They don't want to have a preset dinner time, or they don't want to sit with the same table every night, as a lot of ships do this. For those who want just to dine whenever, from 5 o'clock till 10 o'clock, and whether you sit with your friend or sit by yourself or join a group, they want to have that flexibility. So we found that most of the people on Norwegian, that was a huge draw for them. They wanted the casual dining and the flexibility around their dining.
And if you've been on ships before where you felt like you were forced to wear a suit and you felt very uncomfortable, well, with Norwegian, as we said, don't even bother packing it. There is no need for it on these ships.
Another option that Norwegian offers that's a little bit different than some of the cruises is they offer, if you would like to join, a share table. Now again, on the Norwegian line, they don't have preset tables. So typically you would have your dining table and you would sit with them every night, but because Norwegian doesn't follow that system, instead you can dine just by yourself or with your partner that you're traveling with or with your set of friends, but you don't have to dine with anyone. But they will give you the opportunity regularly where they say, would you like to join a share table? Because they don't have these preset tables. So for some people that are looking for a more social experience, they will join these share tables. I know that we joined the share tables several times, and it was a great opportunity to meet new people and have a quick conversation and share a meal with someone, so you're not dining alone and you don't get bored with the same company.
Speaking of not being forced to join other people, another thing that we found with Norwegian that was a little different than other cruises we've taken was during the entertainment portions, so trivia and stuff like that, there was really no feeling of I need to join another group of people to play trivia like you do find on some other ships. They basically said if you want to play by yourself or with a group of other people, feel free to do whatever you want, and there was no kind of pressure to join. These ships really are designed for people who want to relax. You don't have to feel the need to impress anybody at all on a Norwegian ship.
We noticed that all of the classes and activities that they offered were very easy to participate in. Even if you weren't really truly participating, you could just be in the space and just do it off the side of the table while you're still having your conversation with your friend. These were not really difficult or mind-challenging activities, so you could casually do them or join in whenever or leave whenever. There was no prescribed formula for their activities.
Now, we've been on longer cruises before, and what we found on those were a series of lectures that you could go to every day. Norwegian doesn't participate in that per se. There was a couple of times where they did have one about the Panama Canal, for example, but it's not like other ships where there's 2 or 3 different people and you kind of feel like you have to go and you have to learn on the ship. That's not like that on Norwegian. It's very casual.
We found that the Norwegian cruisers didn't want to have to be on a learning vacation. They were happy to relax and enjoy, and they are fully in vacation mode.
The other thing that's very casual on these ships was the shows that they put on. There weren't any great big Broadway style productions. They were a lot more relaxed. On our cruise we had Choir of Man and we had icons. Neither one of them was a big formal production. It was a lot of singing, a lot of songs that everybody would know from the 70s right through into the 2000s.
Some of the other shows that we saw when we were on the ship were things like comedians, magicians. They tended to be very small acts and very casual. So you could just wear whatever you wanted when you showed up. There was no need to book a ticket for these. And you could walk in whenever you want, sit down and watch some of the show. And if you wanted to leave, you could do that too. It was very informal. So the shows were a bit smaller. They weren't those big production style. You didn't feel you had to dress up. And you could come and go as you please.
So in summary, we'd say this would be a great cruise for first-time cruisers, people who like things a lot less formal. You don't want the rigid schedule, they don't want the rigid seating times for dinner. They want to go with the flow and relax on their time away from work. It's also good for people who maybe enjoy watching more than participating in terms of the activities. Maybe you feel like you don't want to always join in. This was a great line for that because they never really gave you the impression that you had to participate in any of the activities. So really, it's great for people who don't like strict routines as well.
Now, an area that Norwegian really shines is with its solo travelers. Norwegian offer cabins with no single supplement. So what that means is that the majority of the time, if you are a solo traveler, you will have to pay as if you have 2 people in your cabin, even if there's only 1. But Norwegian makes it much more affordable. They say they have no supplement. We talked to a few solo travelers, and instead of paying 100% extra, they tended to pay maybe about 25 was the cost, which really is much more reasonable than most of the lines.
Another nice thing that Norwegian does, maybe better than other lines, is they do give solo travelers a selection of cabins to choose from. We've heard on a lot of the other lines you basically have to choose an inside cabin. Not with Norwegian. They actually give you the choice of an inside cabin, a window cabin, or a balcony cabin.
This is really rare actually for solo travelers. Some of the other reasons that you would love solo traveling on Norwegian include Norwegian has a lot of solo activities and even a solo traveler's lounge. So every day there are solo traveler meetups, there's a solo traveler space, there's solo traveler tables that you can go and eat at with other solo travelers. So there's a lot of opportunity to meet other travelers if you choose during their solo traveler activities and at their lounges and at the tables. So if you do travel by yourself, you don't happen to have somebody who can travel with you at this time, you are not traveling alone.
Now, solo travel with Norwegian has gained in popularity immensely over the last several years. In fact, on the ship that we sailed on, the Norwegian Encore, its capacity was about 4,000 people. On our particular cruise, we heard there was about 3,000 on board. Of that, almost 500 were solo travelers.
This is a large group on the ship. We actually heard complaints that there were so many solo travelers that it was quite overwhelming to do activities with them because they were such a large group. So I mean, this is a big, diverse group. So if you're a solo traveler, really consider Norwegian.
Another area that Norwegian is growing in popularity is for family cruises. Now, like most other cruise lines, they do have their ships with all of the water slides and the go-karts and all those things that you normally expect on a ship that has kids, including the kid club and the little baby sitting areas and stuff like that. Now, one of the reasons that Norwegian is great for this is that they have done away with the formal dining. You're not rushing to pick up the kids for the early seating and making them feel like they have to wear this little formal attire to go to the dining room every night. You can go whenever you want to. They can dress whatever way they want. They're comfortable, they're happy, and let's face it, when the kids are happy, you, mom and dad, are much happier. So this line has done that very well.
So to reiterate, Norwegian is great for people who would like less formality. We notice there's no dress code and no stress on this ship. You can cruise in your shorts, in your less casual wear. You can really wear whatever you want. I know for me, I wasn't as familiar with the Norwegian casual vibe, and so I packed a more formal gown and heels to match, which I never ended up using.
I also packed a shirt and tie and dress pants and dress shoes, and I didn't need those either.
So this saves some space in your bag, take some extra shorts. Don't worry about bringing the formal wear.
I'd say another place that Norwegian has done something a bit different maybe than other lines is they almost have it so that you're booking an all-inclusive when you book with them. Norwegian came out in January with their new More at Sea package. And if you book with them, the original price that you see a lot of times will include the More at Sea package. Now, what that is, just in a nutshell, is it includes your beverage package, so your cocktails. It will also include several specialty dining meals. So depending on the duration of the cruise and the cabin type that you have, you get a certain amount included as part of the package. They'll also include a little bit of Wi-Fi for you, and they also give a credit towards an excursion. So one passenger in the cabin gets a $50 credit towards an excursion. Now, when I say it's an all-inclusive, a lot of people love to book it. It's an all-inclusive, then you don't need to worry really about paying for other stuff while you're on board unless you choose to. The other thing that they've done well is you can choose bits and pieces of their all-inclusive package. So you can book the whole thing. If you happen to be a person who doesn't drink enough to make it worthwhile, you can take off the beverage package or possibly substitute it for a non-alcoholic beverage package, and it'll reduce the fare that you pay on the cruise. So they've done that quite well. So if you're a person who loves the casualness of Norwegian and you want it to be an all-inclusive experience where you don't have to worry about what you're buying throughout the cruise, do the More at Sea package and you'll feel like you're at an all-inclusive resort.
So for cruisers that love a spa experience, let me tell you about the hidden gem on the Norwegian Cruise Line. Theirs is called the Mandara Spa. And of the cruise lines that we've been on, this is definitely the highest quality of spas that we have seen on a ship. They have things like a thermal suite, which includes dry saunas, steam saunas, salt rooms, cold rooms, hydrotherapy pools. You would have the nice robes and you would have towels. Things like herbal teas or fruit-infused water or fruit trays. And it just feels really pampering and really enjoyable to participate in these, whereas we haven't seen quite as vast an offering on some other cruise lines. Norwegian's done a great job with their spa packages.
The nice thing on the Encore, which is the one that we just got off of, is they do have a nice relaxation area with some really nice loungers and floor-to-ceiling windows that give you a nice view out at the ocean or the islands as you pass them, which is a little different than on some of the other lines.
Even the Prima, which we went on another time, which is a Norwegian ship, didn't have as much visual capacity. We weren't able to see quite as much. On the Encore, you got a fantastic floor-to-ceiling view. So a lot of times people would that had passes would come in and they would just stay there with maybe a book or their iPad, and they would just hang out for the day because it's quiet, it's relaxing, you've got your little beverages, you're wrapped up in a robe. It just feels so serene.
And of course it is also an adults only area, so you don't have to worry about any of the little ones running around making noise. So it does end up being a very nice, quiet, tranquil area to spend time on the ship.
Now, Norwegian limits how many passes they allow per cruise for their thermal spa area. Now, our ship was a 21-day. We had a capacity of 4,000 with about 3,000 guests on board, and they limited their thermal pass to about 120 passengers. So it is a small group of people. It's not like it's going to be super busy all the time. You are going to notice a lot of the same people. If you go day after day, there's a lot of the same people. So you get to chat with them and just relax and see why they're choosing the spa. It's very pleasant. But you will also note that if spa is something that you really enjoy, you're going to want to either book this in advance or book it on the day that you get on the ship.
One of the things that Roma and I really like to do when we get on a ship on the first day is take a bit of a tour of the ship. And one of the first places we always go to is the spa. We do like to see what they have before we make a decision as to whether we want to commit to using the spa or not. As you may know if you've taken other cruises, some spas are nowhere near as good as other spas. So that's one of the reasons we like Norwegian, is they do tend to have a very good spa. Now, one of the advantages of taking the tour on the very first day is quite often they will offer specials that you can take advantage of, whether it is buying a daily pass or whether it's buying a pass for the entirety of the cruise.
Most cruise lines will also offer a special on port days. So when you're on a port day and there's not a lot of traffic on the ship, they will offer a special day pass for their thermal spas that can range in price, whatever their offering is. So keep that in mind as well, is that whenever you're cruising on a port day, if you decide you don't want to get off on that port, maybe you've already been there, you just don't feel like it, the spas will often have port day specials.
Yeah, we've done that quite a number of times, and it's something that we really enjoy, and we found great value.
So adding the thermal package to your cruise is an add-on, but we found that the pricing they gave us was really reasonable. I wanted to go on the thermal spa, and my hubby decided that he would think that was great and would support my decision. So I got to go to the spa for 21 days, and it was really reasonable.
We paid $449, including everything, taxes, gratuities, and everything. So $449 was the cost for 21 days at sea. It works out to a little bit over $20 per day, which really for the spa experience, Roma was probably there a good 3 to 4 hours at least every day. So, I mean, for me, that seems like really, really good value. And depending on the offering, most ships will give you something that will most likely make sense for you as well.
Yeah, we've seen on shorter cruises a more reasonable offering as well. So always check on your first day, go check out the spa and see what their offering is. Now, we've talked about the thermal spa offering that Norwegian has. They still have all of the traditional spa treatments. So you can get a manicure pedicure, you can get your hair done, you can get massages. Another thing that this particular ship, the Encore, offered that we hadn't seen on other ships was they actually had an acupuncturist. A lot of times they will have naturopathic type doctors and you can meet with them over dietary issues, or maybe they'll check your feet and your stance and things like that. We've never seen an acupuncturist. So any of those services are also available on the Norwegian Cruise Lines.
So once again, if you are a person who loves to be pampered, loves the spa experience, we would highly recommend Norwegian as one of the top cruise lines to choose for your spa getaway.
I actually met a gentleman, he and his wife and his adult daughter were traveling together on the Norwegian cruise, and they said this was their third time and they'd already booked a fourth because they simply love the spa package. That is the primary reason they cruise on Norwegian. They get the spa package every time and they just sit and relax in the spa the whole time. So really, cost savings there versus going for a week at the wellness center are significant. So this gentleman and his wife, they figured this out and they just go on the spa all the time.
So there you have it, Norwegian Cruise Lines. It's great for solo travelers, casual travelers, spa lovers, and families. If you value flexibility, comfort, and fun, this cruise line will feel just like home.
We do want to mention that this may not be an ideal cruise line if you are a seasoned cruiser and you're used to a certain level of perhaps gourmet food or certain level of shows and productions, or you like the formality of having a seated dinner, you like being able to bring your suit and tie or dress up nicely, then this is probably not your cruise line.
If you like things like the crystal chandeliers and all the fancy woodwork that you see on some of these ships that take you back to days of old, Norwegian is probably not the correct line for you. Have you cruised solo or with your family on a Norwegian cruise? Drop a line in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
What is your favorite thing about Norwegian? Let us know below.
If this helped you figure out whether Norwegian was the right cruise line for you, give us a thumbs up and hit subscribe to follow us for more travel tips on Blue Sky Travelers.